aside from me bringing her in all the time, which I do.
Okay, you keep saying a dog. Again, in that same police report, it talks about 2 pit bulls.
We have an American Bulldog and a Bull Mastiff.
Okay, I'm going by what it says in the report. That was your evidence that you submitted.
No, ma'am, that was his.
That was his dog complaint.
No, the police report was yours.
Yeah, the police report was ours, but
correct.
His is the one that says 2 pit bulls.
Okay, let's move this along.
My point, he said he came over to the house and knocked on the door and there's been police contact, and we haven't had any police contact. I have no problem addressing or adhering to the dog barking standard or whatever, the petition. I have no problem because I feel like that we're already within those bounds. I'm just wondering, as far as contact goes, yesterday he was standing up on the fence between our 2 properties, putting up something that would help block the fences, but he's standing on the 8-foot fence between our 2 properties for 3 hours, stapling something to the fence.
Okay, who's your witness?
John,
okay.
My manager at work.
What is your name?
John Kavanaugh.
Cameron?
Kavanaugh. O-U.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, under penalty of perjury of law?
I do.
Okay.
I was the one who answered the phone when he called at work. I guess the only thing I need to add further to that was the fact that as soon as she hung up the phone, she asked to leave to go put her dog in. I allowed her. She went directly home, put her dog in the house, and came back to work. I can add to that situation.
Okay.
But
has he called more than once?
That's the only time that he's called.
Okay. Did he sound threatening when you spoke to him? I understand he spoke to her.
Correct.
But did he have an attitude when he talked to you?
No, he just asked for Laura.
Okay. And as the manager there, he's come in to eat, and has it been your impression or your observation that he is there to, for a lack of a better word, stalk her, intimidate her, or do you believe he was there to have dinner?
I think he's only been about 3 times.
And do you believe he was there for the purpose of eating or the purpose to upset her? Based on what you saw, did he interact with her?
No, he didn't interact with her. The only thing I can add is that I believe that he went to the bathroom more than once, which does walk right by the bar.
Okay.
There's a lot of things. What is intention? What is...
Well, you can't know what his
Correct.
intention is.
That's why I can't add to that.
None of us can actually
Correct.
know what his intention
Correct.
is. The only thing we can determine is what his behavior.
I'm trying to be as honest as possible. So they were there as guests, and he came with people that have been into my restaurant numerous times.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take a brief recess.
Is there something?
I find this case very troubling. I don't think either party here is without responsibility for how you got to this situation. On this side, you know, leaving your dogs there before you even moved in, that's just, I mean, a natural prediction. After you moved in, you know, the defendant clearly sent you letters and made an effort to try to resolve the situation, and basically you ignored him. To this date, you say your dog's in for only 1 hour a day, and you really kind of create the impression that that's the defendant's fault. It's not. Your dogs are barking and you admit they bark, okay? I think if you had tried to do something about it, that there might have been a different result, and you have to live with each other. So I don't think you've been completely honest, nor do I think you have completely been responsible and made an effort to live peacefully in the neighborhood. Then we come to this side. I can completely sympathize with your frustration with barking dogs. Clearly they bark. There's no doubt in my mind that they bark, okay? But then when I ask you about the stool, I don't think you were very candid with me, and that bothers me. Just like I don't think they've been truthful 100%, I don't think you have either, for so many reasons. Even if you had nothing to do with the oil, if you've got dogs that have been driving you crazy, putting a stool there for somebody to sit is just baiting those dogs. It's just teasing those dogs. I can't overlook the fact that an independent, a police officer, went in, noticed the stool right there, and noticed the liquid coming from your side of the fence. I'm convinced that happened. So I have to look at the evidence. It just doesn't make sense to me that coincidentally the stool was there, coincidentally there was liquid, and it says it came from your side of the fence over. I can't overlook that. So we have two parties. I completely appreciate your frustration. They clearly have ignored their responsibility or haven't tried to work with you. I don't think he went to the restaurant other than to eat. I don't think he was stalking you. He hasn't called you more than once. He called and made a request for you to take your dogs inside. And he wrote you letters, and you've still done nothing. As for him putting up something in his yard that maybe you didn't like, that looks into your side of the yard, whatever it is, he says it's a dog barking deterrent device. I believe him on that. And he has every right. If you're not going to take care of, I don't think he wants to go out and spend his money to get things to take care of your dogs. I think he's done it because he is completely frustrated. I don't think you're a bad guy. I don't think you're a violent guy. I do think you had something. If you didn't do the oil, you had somebody or you know who did. And I'm taking that from a neutral third party, a police officer. They're trained, they know how to investigate, and he has absolutely no feeling one way or the other. He has no allegiance to either of you. He's a total third party who's objective. So while I sympathize with your frustration, I can't condone the fact that there was physical harm to the dogs, okay? And there was. So I am going to let the order stand. Here's what I am going to do, though. Should the dogs, they take control of the dogs and get the barking stopped, you then can come in again and ask for it to be lifted, okay? Try to live in peace. You're going to be neighbors, okay? He has a legitimate complaint. Clearly you're irritating a lot of people. Your dogs are irritating a lot of people in the neighborhood. That's not right. You don't enjoy living this way, do you? Not getting along with them? So the responsible thing is for you is to do something about those dogs. You have other ways if they don't control their dogs. make a complaint to animal control. There are other things that you can do rather than do something physical with the dogs. Because really the dogs are not the problem here. The dog's owners are the problems. If the dog owners were responsible, the dogs wouldn't be behaving this way. There are training classes. There are all kinds of things. I don't think he's been there 16 years. I don't think he just all of a sudden woke up one morning and decided to get into a hassle with his neighbors. I think he's frustrated, and I can completely understand why. So while I'm going to let the injunction stand, and that's because of the physical, what I am deciding actually happened, whether it was you, it was somebody on your property that caused it to happen, but you've got other alternatives. If they continue to bark, you have neighbors. If the dogs are disturbing your neighbors, they also have some recourse. And there are other ways that you can put pressure on them to get those dogs under control. I'm going to urge you as good neighbors, and in the spirit of goodwill, that you take care of the problem. As you said, you can't sell your house. He's not going anywhere. He's been in the neighborhood 16 years. You want to live in peace. It's over. It's over. All right, so the injunction stands. If the situation is resolved and they've calmed down, you can always come back in here at that time, and then the burden will be on them to prove again why it should stay, and look for some other ways that you can resolve this. Okay? You can contact animal control. You can file complaints, disturbing the peace, disturbing your right to enjoyment of your property. There are other ways that if they aren't responsible, there are other ways that you can resolve this without resorting to something physical and basically violent. I think you were pushed beyond the edge, but you still can't do that. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see the seal. I can stick it in here. This makes a really loud noise, I just warned you. You're going to each get a copy of this.
And I'm not sure whichever party